Morning everyone. Today I want to read for you out of the very first book of the Bible called Genesis. Genesis is an amazing book that tells us of how our world began. We can know what happened thousands of years ago, even before there was one man or woman on earth, because God tells us that in His Word, the Bible. Let's go have a read. In the beginning of time, the earth was empty and dark. Everything everywhere was completely dark and probably completely silent. Let's be perfectly still and quiet for a while. With just 4 words, God wiped out the darkness. He said, "Let there be light." And there was a warm, bright glow that chased away all the shadows. God called the light day, and the darkness He called night. And so God created the first day. So the earth was covered in water, and the Spirit of God was hovering over it. Can we breathe underwater? There is no air underwater, hey? And God knew the living things that He would create would need air. So on the second day, God separated the water above from the water below. God said, "Let there be a space in between the water." And it was so. The space in between was called the sky. God created the air and the sky, the atmosphere. Let's all take a nice big breath together. Doesn't it feel great to breathe? So on day 2, God was preparing the earth for the rest of His creation. Now on the 3rd day, God said, "Let all the water on the earth gather into one place, and let the dry ground appear." And it was so. God created the land and the oceans, and He saw that it was good. But on that same day, God also created the plants and the trees with beautiful flowers and all the yummy fruit for us to eat. After God created the salty seas and the lovely land and the leafy plants, God looked and saw that it was good. On the 4th day, God said, "Let there be lights in the sky," and it was so. The first light He made to rule over the day. That is a big burning ball of fire, and He called it the sun. The second big light that He made to rule over night, and that is called the moon. God also made millions of dazzling stars, and He scattered them all across the universe. And God saw that it was good. On the 5th day, God said, "Let the water be filled with living creatures, and let the birds fly above the earth across the sky." And it was so. The seas were filled with lots of fish splashing and dolphins playing in the waves. The sky was filled with colorful birds, catching the breeze of their feathers. God saw that what He made was good. On the 6th day, God said, "Let all the living creatures come forth," and it was so. God made the animals. Some slithered, some bounced, some hopped and some pounced, some purred and some had fur. He made big animals that pound the ground and tiny ones that creep around. God shows His wonderful imagination by the amazing animals that He made, and God saw that it was good. Now the earth was ready. God had prepared the world for the best of His creation. He made light to see, air to breathe. He made food to grow in the trees. God made silky sand and green grass and the warm sun and animals waiting to be petted. The earth was clean, fresh and ready. God said, "Let us make man in our likeness." And so God made man and woman to be like him in many ways. Adam, the first man, was formed from dust of the earth. Adam laid on the ground like a still puppet, and God breathed the breath of life into him. Adam became a living being. Adam got up, he looked around and smiled. God also smiled. God looked around and saw that what he made was good. On the seventh day, God rested. God blessed the seventh day and made it special. God created this amazing world for us to enjoy. God also wants us to rest on the seventh day and to keep it holy. He wants us to worship him on this day and to thank him for everything that he has made. Let's have a quick look at what we have learned from the story of God's creation. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. He also said, I am the Alpha and the Omega, the first and the last, the beginning and the end. That means that God, the I Am, is an eternal God. He was there before the world was created and will be there forever and ever. How did God make the world? He created the world by speaking. It is written in Genesis 1 verse 3, Then God said, Let there be light, and there was light. God also wants us to speak life in our everyday lives. Why does he want us to speak life? Because we are made in his image, so our words are also powerful like his. Our mouths are like weapons, and we need to be very careful of what we speak. If we say bad things, it can really happen. So God wants us to always say good things to our friends and never bad. In how many days did God create the world? In 7 days. The number 7 is a very special number. It is God's lucky number and very significant everywhere in the Bible. 7 is for heaven, and the number 7 stands for perfection. Our God surely created a perfect world.
If I want to connect with God, all I need to do is sit in the bushveld and listen to the sounds of the world, God's perfect creation.
For our first craft that Shaylee and Sian is going to demonstrate for us, we are going to make a ball. For this craft, you are going to need a printer to print a template, some glue, scissors, a piece of string, and some coloring pencils to color in. First, you will have to cut all 8 circles from the template, color them in, and then fold them into half. Then we are going to stick them all together one by one, starting with the one that says Days of Creation. you will only stick one half of your first circle to the other half of the next circle, like this. Okay, let's show you what it looks like. There we go. So we're going to start with days of creation, and then we're going to stick day 1, light and the dark. After day 1, we are going to stick day 2, which is the picture with the sky that got separated from the water. We're going to do the same by folding them into half and then sticking them with the glue, like that. Okay. Then day 3 is going to be the one where God separated the land from the water, and he made all the trees and the fruit and the flowers. Then we're going to fold them into half again and stick it with the glue and stick the two halves together like that. Day 4, God created the sun and the moon and the stars. So this one is going to be folded in half again and stuck onto the rest of the other halves, like this. Day 5 is when God created the birds in the sky and the fish in the sea. So then we're going to take our birds and our fishies, we're going to fold that into half and then stick those two together. Okay? Day 6 is where God created the animals, the rest of the animals, and he also created Adam and Eve. So we're going to fold that one in half again and then stick it onto the rest. And on the very last day, on the 7th day, God rested. So we're going to fold that last one into half and stick it onto our ball. Once you have stuck all the circles together, it will look like this. But before we stick the last 2 circles together, we are going to first put our piece of string in the middle like this, and then we can stick our last 2 halves together like this to stick our final part to make our ball. There we go. And that is our Days of Creation ball. Did you know the earth is a ball that is called a sphere? And that is why the air that God made around the world is called the atmosphere. That is so exciting to see how wonderful and perfect God made the world for us to live in. For our second craft, if you don't have a printer, you can also make a bird from a paper plate and some feathers.